Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm joined by Joko after hard-fought victory over H2K. Now, it was a little bit shaky there in the mid-game, the Nash and everything, but you pulled it out in the end. So I want to ask you, where do you guys feel like, what's going wrong exactly in these mid-games?
To be honest, we are struggling towards, like, we don't really know what to play on which sides most of the time, and we end up like staying, oh, we go mid, we go top, we go mid, going back and forward, and at the end we don't really create any pressure, and that's where we are lacking off, and we don't even have vision on the map, and then, like you see, like try to go one time they went Nash, and we were like, oh, what the fuck, they are doing it, you know, and yeah, it's just, we are struggling a bit, but I'm still good, like happy because we are making progress, and yeah, that's what it matters to me.
Yeah, and you get the win in the end, so now you've also beaten G2. You had a couple of close games post-Rift Rivals. It seems like that break really helped you guys out. What particularly did you use it on? What did you work on to improve the most?
No, I think our coach like kind of figured out where we were struggling, and he's really good at this job, and right now we're on a good spot because of him, and if we keep listening to him, there will be no problem, and I think we can go playoff for sure.
Well, maybe he can become the mid-game king as well. Now, I got one last question for you, Joko. You guys are looking ahead. You're 3-7 right now on the board. What will it take for Giants to make it into the playoffs?
I guess winning against every teams, that's what we are aiming for, and that's what we are going.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing if you can make it happen. Now, we're going to go ahead and send it back off to Dracos and the dudes for the next pregame.
Thank you, Pyre. I love Joga's analysis. Straight, simple, to the point. I guess we're going to have to beat all the other teams.
That's important. Hey, he's been watching the World Cup because every football interview is exactly like that. It's got to be better than the other team and score more goals.
Dude.
There you go. That's all we got.
They're a great opponent. They're going to be great on the day.
Yeah.
We just got to show up and play our game.
I respect that kind of answer. I mean, to be fair, what are you going to answer to that question? You don't have 2 minutes to break down how you're going to beat every team.
No, and you don't want to give it away either, so I like it. Master of interviews, Joko. Master of player of the game votes, however, is Betsy. Still looking like the star player on this lineup. Yes, they have been struggling, but when this team wins, it does feel like it's on the back of Betsy. Not always in a Zir backdoor, as this game has now taught us, but still looks good.
But it's the second time he's beaten the Zoe on the other side and showing us just how good that Aurelion matchup is into that pick. His team fighting, his laning phase was very, very impressive out of him in that match.
Yeah, and it's a good look overall. I do want to take a look at the standings after that game, however, because things have been getting shaken up very, very quickly here in the ULCS. We start the week talking about the battle for the top 4. One of the teams we're talking about has to win today just to make it back into that top 4. Things are shifting so fast.
And that's a really cool thing because last week we had the discussion around, okay, is the top 4 locked? Is it going to be Misfits, G2, Fnatic, and Vitality? Everyone said, you know what, Vitality, the only one where there's some question marks, they could drop out of it. And with the current standings now, if they lose to Splyce today, they will tie with them. Rocket have a chance to tie as well, and you suddenly have a massive group outside of the top 4. It's gone downhill for Vitality the last couple of weeks, and they need to bounce back.
And if it keeps going downhill, the next time we talk about dark horses, it's going to be Vitality and Splyce in that conversation.
Sure.
Teams that were at 3 and 4, and teams that are going head-to-head today. Both of these teams fighting for a lot on the line. Guys who looked so solid in spring, now struggling a little bit here in the summer split.
A little bit of a different story, too, because it was Vitality that came out of the gate a little bit stronger than Splyce, and have then since dropped a few games, whereas Splyce completely turned it around starting back in week 3 and really have gone on the up and up since.
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect what Splyce are doing, but if we do take away the 0-4 start, they're 4-1. The last couple of games they played, they beat Team Liquid at Rift Rivals. Like, there's actually been a lot of positive results. It's just the way they're winning games is not always the cleanest. That's kind of the thing from yesterday. You know, all the coaches of the team and the players were like, yeah, that game was messy. But that's the thing. In a best of 1, you can survive playing a messy game as long as you get the win, because you just gotta lock top 6, and then you can improve going into the quarterfinal.
And while Splyce is a team, maybe playing messy, making some mistakes, one man who has been standing out is Nisqy. Just continues to be Nisqy, actually. This guy has been phenomenal for the team. We looked at him last season as a weakness for the vast majority of the season, and now he's coming through as the star player without a doubt.
Yeah, it was a surprise, too, because it was the Nisqy we saw back in the 3rd place decider match last split, and has just continued to ride off of that just massive wave of success. Picks like the Zoe have been so fantastic for him and have really been netting his team wins, because when his team can't quite make it, he's the one that's pushing them across.
Yeah, we see a lot of teams where the mid laner has to be the carry right now, because a lot of the AD carries are still struggling a little bit with the AP champions bot lane. A lot of top laners are just on tank duty, so someone like Nisqy playing well is why Splyce can win a bunch of games now. He's up against Vitality, though, where Jizuke is on the other side, and last split, we would have 100% said this is Jizuke winning this matchup no matter what. That's not the case right now. Niski is actually a better player this split than Jizuke.
And he's continued to prove that. And Vitality, not just Jizuke that's struggling, losing 2 games in a row now for this Vitality lineup. This is a team that's looked so dominant when they are winning, but when they lose, the cracks start to show so very quickly. And I think if they want to get back to the top, we do need to see more from this lineup.
We do. I mean, they have this trend now where they lose to the top teams and then they beat the bottom teams. Splyce right now is still considered one of the bottom teams, even though it feels weird with the kind of players on the lineup. So Vitality are favorites going into this matchup. I need to see Jizuke at least go even with Niski. I think he can do it. And then I actually think around the rest of the Vitality lineup, they should have the edge.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a team that will just look to fight in the mid game. And that means that if you fall behind early on, that's when you're definitely going to be struggling. They need to have the advantage and go in even or ahead.
Yeah, and one of the reasons for why they have to get ahead is because their team fighting is not the greatest. When we watch them team fight against the best teams in Europe, they almost always come out on the wrong side. They end up making a mistake in the engage, or they don't have the same coordination when they go for the actual engage. So they need to have a goal lead going into this, have an item advantage, and use that to actually win the fights. Otherwise, they lose to most of the good teams in team fights.
Yeah, and I think in this specific game up against G2, a big issue for me was seeing Attila not on a mage. Instead, it was that Lucian, which I don't think is quite as powerful hit for him as a player. And also against a composition with so much CC, trying to pilot such a low-range AD carry is a very difficult task.
Hey, and last time we saw these guys play, it was duo kills on the bottom side of the map that were such a big determining factor. We're going to find out if that continues to be the case here, however. We're going to see if the casters have a different opinion on the matchup, what they have to say as we get into game.
Thank you very much, Dracos. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry, joined at the desk by Andrew Vedius Day. I've cleaned up a little bit from my quick stat shenanigans earlier. Did you find it enlightening, Vedius?
I learned so much stuff.
I find when I pitch my quick stats to you guys, the audience, I get a lot of love and reception. But when I pitch it to Vedius and Deficio and Ender, they laugh in my face, and I just feel bad. So
We laugh with you, Trevor.
Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification. Thank you for the clarification, Vedius. We're jumping into Splyce versus Vitality. It is the 3rd place decider rematch. And it feels like so much has changed between spring playoffs and now. Not only with the game and the meta, but even these teams and their storylines. And, you know, we're not seeing that explosive beginning that we had with Vitality, and we're not seeing that development we saw from Splyce that helped them take 3rd.
Well, the one thing that has stayed the same is that during the regular season, Vitality have often smashed Splyce. And so far, this will be the 4th time that they have met during the regular season, and it has not typically been Splyce favored. So coming into this matchup, early game and a favorable bot lane matchup will be some of the key things that I feel Splyce need to get themselves if they want to stand a chance against Vitality, because we all know it, everybody has seen it. Early game kills, a kill bot lane specifically, into a lot of team fighting is the way in which Vitality like to play, and so far, Splyce have not been able to match that.
Well, let's see what Vitality can get their hands on. Irelia's definitely going to lean into that play style. Vedius, Splyce, obviously the Instalog Zoe first pick. Nothing too surprising, I think, from the bans. Aatrox, Nocturne, Kindred, maybe the Talon, Mundo, and Swain, at least for that final ban. And we're just going through these power picks. The Trundle being locked in. Not something we've seen all too much.
Primarily as an answer to the Sejuani, it was it was Xerxes' counterpick to many of the tanks that we did see last split. It was kind of an innovation brought about him, and now it's like one of the most staple junglers that we have in the current meta. Still works very nicely against Sejuani, and is also a pretty good early dueling jungler if he's able to get within range. Splyce, though, kind of building up a bit of a carry up towards the top side. Rumble is something that we've been seeing coming out a lot from Odo. We know it is a big comfort pick for him, and if Splyce can look to play through the top side of the map, we know that they found success in the past. So I feel like Splyce are already gearing towards playing towards that, whereas Team Vitality right now just getting themselves winning lane matchups, as we already talked about.
Okay, so then how do you round the comp out if Splyce want to lean towards that side of the map? You know, what do we look towards phase 2 in terms of priority picks, or at least styles? You know, what type of champion do you want to see?
Well, I want to see engage from Splyce, but also want to see something safe. So I'd love to see like an Alistair Ziggs on the side of Splyce down towards the bottom lane, just because it allows you to wave clear pretty effectively up against the Heimerdinger that you're guaranteed to be playing against, and you need a way to start these fights. And right now, Rumble ulti is one way to kick things off. There is the potential that we could see a Jhin here. Something that we've been seeing kind of prop back up into the meta is Jhin running Hail of Blades specifically. And one of the old, like, effective combos that was not only good at sieging but also starting fights is Rumble ulti into Jhin ulti. And we do know that Kobbe is... does have a lot of comfort on that champion as well. So if they kind of want some kind of pseudo engage, that is one potential option for them.
I like that, pseudo engage. Not actual engage, but I guess it kind of counts.
It starts a fight.
Assuming you actually shoot the fish in the barrel,
Yes.
it counts. If
Sure.
you don't hit that fish in the barrel, it's pretty embarrassing, and you get some egg on your face. The response here from Vitality, gonna lock in that Shen, give them a lot of versatility and flexibility in how they can play out this sort of team composition. And I guess we're looking just for a top laner, I suppose, here.
Unless the Shen is top lane, you kind of have more traditionally seen it towards the bot. I'm kind of surprised that they would look to pair it up with the Heimerdinger, but there's the Jhin that we were talking about from the side
Ding!
of Splyce.
So exactly that. And then, of course, the pseudo-engage that we were talking about. Splyce needs to round out this team composition. What would you like to see Kasing play? I mean,
again, I really want engage.
Yeah.
So a way to actually start the fight that's a little
Would
more
Ali work
reliable.
here?
I think, like, it would add an extra layer of frontline. Braum is another one that I think would be okay, but I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so they're going for more of the defensive option. They're taking the safe approach. They're aware of how much push is available for Vitality in the bot, and they just want a little bit of disengage. You do have the Tahm Kench flank, but I can't really see who you're going to be bringing into a flank.
a trundle,
Maybe the
bro.
Trundle,
You
yeah.
can put a pillar down.
But then you're not
for the
peeling for your Jhin, right?
Pseudo-engage
Yeah.
for the curtain call as well as the equalizer. And the question mark about where the Irelia goes, or the Shen rather, is going to be that Kled up in the top lane. So not too much Kled over here in Europe, but exciting to see the team comps. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because Vitality have got engage for days.
Yep. So the thing about Vitality is they now have a winning matchup top. You could argue they have a winning matchup mid, and they have priority down bot. So remember what we said, where Vitality often draft strong winning lanes. They get a lot of kills early, and then they transition those kills into team fights.
Yep. They can do that a lot.
They can do that so much. This is such a typical Vitality draft, and the best thing is they also love to fight around the mid lane, and guess what? That Kled is really good at starting fights, especially in the middle lane. So we'll see how things play out for Vitality. You kind of look at the jungler to see where he wants to play around. He has many options. I think that he shouldn't focus on playing around mid. I think top and bot are the most pivotal, largely because Splyce, to me, say that they actually want to play a lot through the top side of the map. They want to get Odo Omni ahead on this Rumble. They want to take that top tower down very early on into the game. And they're going to use the pushing power of Zoe to kind of push Irelia underneath her turret and then move her up towards the top side as well. It will be challenging against the Kled because of how he works as a champion.
Yep.
He's really tough to kill, but that is likely going to be Splyce's game plan. Whether they can pull it off, though, is another question.
I have seen Skarl demounting and remounting, saving so many Kled players' lives in the past. Especially when you look over at the LPL region, probably last year and a little bit earlier, and they played a whole lot of Kled. Well, let's see what Cabochard can do when it comes to the matchup. It is, of course, that third place rematch. Splyce taking on Team Vitality. Both of these teams squarely in the middle of the table, and both really wanting to climb up in the standings as we enter the second half of the split. And of course, one of the things I do want to just remind everybody, which you've already mentioned, Vedius, is just how much better Vitality are against Splyce for the most part. Take a look at the gold difference, guys. That scale on the left is a little misleading. That's a 15,000 gold lead by around about 25 to 27 minutes. So the definition of Goomba Stomp.
Yes, a lot of it did come from Vitality finding kills in the 2 versus 2 down bot. I believe that was actually when they first ran the Heimerdinger in week 1 of the split as well. And it was the Heimerdinger fiddle that Splyce's bot lane didn't really know how to deal with. They ended up failing, because I remember it was that Kai'Sa play. Do you remember?
There you go.
When he tried to jump onto Jack Troll, and then Jack Troll got that clutch fear into Attila getting the kill. We also saw Cabochard having a great game, and so basically, like, all the lanes were winning, and then once they get an early lead, Vitality are really good at snowballing that early lead. So they're kind of looking to replicate that again in Splyce. They just want to mitigate that as much as possible. Tahm Kench and Jhin really good at kind of denying that, and already we're seeing a bit of early skirmishing in the middle lane.
Yeah, a little bit of trading back and forth. Niski stepping all the way forward into Jizuke. Flash cleanse for the moment on both sides. And Cabochard manages to connect that bear trap on a rope, which, by the way, is probably one of my favorite spell names in the entire game, so I will end up sort of whimsically singing that a little bit. I apologize in advance if you don't like it. And look at the Xerxes already making his way towards the top lane. This is exactly what you were hoping for and anticipating when it comes to the matchup and the team composition that Splyce are putting together.
Yep, so Xerxes hanging around right now. Gilius is on the Raptors. Cabo afraid.
All right, let's take a look. Flash is available. Skarl is still there.
Playing super defensively. He's just so cognizant of a potential jungle gank.
What's the go signal? What's the go signal? Xerxes waiting for it, and this is it. The minion wave comes out. Bear trap is there. Adjusting is a little bit interrupted, and that's just the Scar pop. Cabochard's able to back away. Just uses that sort of shotgun on the Q. And I mean, it's not the most exhilarating, but it definitely signifies intent.
Yeah, so the advantage here for Gilius is that he'll be able to steal away some of the jungle camps from Xerxes, and the bot side, especially taking away these Raptors, is always very valuable. So that's a double Raptor camp start for Gilius. Also want to take this very quick opportunity to talk about the summoner spell that is being run on Kobe. You can't see it right now on your screen, that is a bit of a visual bug, but it is Hail of Blades. We talked a little bit about it in the Champion Select, and it's something that many Jins have been running recently. A large part of it is because Hail of Blades, when it does proc, gives you a huge amount of bonus movement attack speed very early on, and that synergizes very nicely with his passive, which basically just gives him a lot more damage. So many AD carries have found effectiveness with it, and it's kind of brought Jhin back into popularity across the world.
Okay, let's see how effective he is on it, because the pseudo-engage as that game plays out...
Why do you love this so much?
I actually hate the word pseudo, because if you look at the definition, if you say pseudo-engage, it means it's actually not engage.
Right.
You used it correctly, and that's why I'm hammering it home now, because,
I see.
You know, using an equalizer in Curtain Call, it's not actually a traditional definition of engage. You know, Sejuani ultimate, Malphite ultimate, and I went there first. Charge for Kled, for example. But it does fit the definition, and I find it's misused a lot in casting terms.
That's fair. Okay, so just to clarify as well, because the word engage gets thrown around a lot, technically, any champion can engage a fight, right? If Jhin,
you just walk forward.
If Jhin flashes into 5 members of the enemy team, that will start a fight, right? So you can argue that anything is an engage, but typically when you hear the word engage, you think of things like hard crowd control that is easy to land and is often area of effect. Not always, but often.
Yeah.
So Malphite ultimate, Sejuani ultimate, Kled ultimate, I even consider something like a Sivir ultimate with all the bonus movement speed to be forms of engage. And when you look at Splyce's composition, they don't have a lot of area of effect hard crowd control abilities, and so with Odoamne's Rumble, you have a large area zoning tool, and then you have a big slow with Jin's ulti. So that's why I kind of call it a pseudo-engage in the sense that it's not hard crowd control, but it is an easy way to start a fight.
Well, there are some hard crowd control tools on the side of Vitality. Gilius, one of the main setups here. Flawless duet as well for Jizuke. He's getting close to level 6. The teleport will complete, and Odoamne's got flash available to him. Can he pull off any shenanigans underneath the tower? All right, Cabo is going to get interrupted. The flash comes out. There's the engage. First blood to Vitality. They made that look easy. Can they get out clean? Cabochard's looking to charge up that Gnar bar, or Rage bar rather. He's not playing Gnar. Back end, there's the Drowsy, the sleep onto Gilius. That's the first kill for Splyce. It's Xerxes that picks it up. Now they turn their attention to Jizuke. He survives a few seconds longer, while Cabochard is battling with Kasing. Manages to sidestep that paddle star before the tower takes him out, and Vitality concede 3 for just first blood.
So Splyce end up getting a pretty effective turnaround, and while Odoamne doesn't benefit from the trade, this is exactly the kind of early start that Splyce were hoping to get. We've talked so much about how Vitality thrive off of getting early kills and snowballing with that advantage. The fact that they are now at a 1,000 gold deficit only 6 minutes into the game will really hinder their ability to find that snowball.
Look where all the kills land as well. You know, landing for Xerxes, Kasing, maybe accelerate their ability to set up some plays in the coming minutes. We're talking about who Kasing could devour for that Abyssal Voyage. And you can already see a play being set up. Niski and Xerxes making their way to the top lane. They've caught out Gilius. He's got no flash available. There goes the equalizer. Easy sleep secure. Niski manages to take out Gilius. 3-1 on that Zoe this split. And They're not done yet. Turn their attention to Cabo, still flashless. Skarl will buy some time as the tower keeps him alive. Unfortunately, Jack Troll in range to save his top laner's life.
Well, Splyce are having a phenomenal early game so far up against Vitality, really bucking the trend and changing things up as they sit on a 1.4k gold lead. 2 kills went over to Niski, and let's see how that all played out. Note how Kled is going back to base to reset, TPing back in, and they're setting up for the dive. Jizuka had gained priority over mid, they had a control ward in the river as well, and everything was set up to get this collapse onto Odo. There's no TP on Niski, they have to rely on the TP of the support, and the dive initially looks very clean. But because Niski and Xerxes are able to make their way up, and this is actually a 3 versus 3, they're able to find a pretty healthy trade. They're able to shut down Sejuani first, who can't really win out on this 2 versus 2. Kasing proving how dangerous Tahm Kench is in a 1 versus 1 situation. Ends up actually finding a 1v1 kill onto Cabo, and now there's more action in the bottom lane.
Oh, look how dangerous Kasing really is, Vedius, in a 2v2. Helps out Kobbe. Kobbe gets the kill with the help of that BF sword as well. The curtain is called. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is denied. Kasing with the KS.
Kasing secures the kill because he sees Attila's going to look to flash. He wants to get away from the 4th shot, but before it even comes out, Kasing says, nope, I use Lick. It's super effective. Splyce find 2 more kills.
To this day, I still have yet to cast a Jhin connecting all 4 shots and securing the kill. I love trying to emulate the VO, and unfortunately, Kasing denied me that pleasure. Splyce take the first tower as well. It is a 2,500, 3,000 gold lead, correction, at 8 minutes. This is the opposite of what happened earlier in the split.
The exact opposite, and it's so great that Kobbe and Kasing are having this great game because I was prepared to come in and talk about how bad I think this 2 versus 2 is. I felt they've been inconsistent, they've been dying really randomly, and they've been far and away from the staple bot lane that they were last split, that you didn't have to play around but were always going to succeed. And right now, they've just 2v2 killed Attila and Jack Troll, the duo that has been most consistent at finding those kills in the laning phase.
And they did it with an AD carry and somewhat
Yes,
traditional
they did.
support. We didn't quite catch the setup of this play, so let's just see how this starts. I mean, Jack Troll and Attila, they initiated it.
So the first mistake that Vitality's bot lane made was trying to engage when the enemy team have a minion lane advantage. He then walks straight up towards Kobbe and then fakes out a taunt onto the support where Kasing can then automatically start applying the stacks so that he's already set up to chase down with the stun on his Q. And Attila can't really get involved in the fight because he's not level 6. And now he's at danger of being collapsed upon as Xerxes and the rest of Splyce make their way up top.
Wow, all kudos to Splyce for punishing that play. They've already caught out Jack Troll. Niski is on a killing spree. That's his 3rd of the game. Golf collapse from Berlin as Vitality are being obliterated right now. They're down 1 kill to 7. Yes, they're going to get some time on this bottom outer tower, but it's at the cost of the top lane. And literally everybody on Splyce is just starting to get fed. All right, there will be some shenanigans. Splyce are taking the top tower while Odo Omne with no equalizers being dove. He's overheating and taking a lot of damage. Cabo forced to get away, but Odo Omne turns it back around. Kobbe completed the teleport and arrives, closes the curtain on Cabo's life. 2 more kills to Splyce.
Splyce are playing phenomenally in this early game. They secured 2 quick kills in the bot, and Vitality are left with nothing. Beautiful play so far from this Splyce squad, and they are looking to get revenge for the number of times that Vitality have shut them down. Let's look at how this play all works out. Odo Omne ends up getting overheated, forces Cabo into losing Skarl. The problem here is that they just don't quite have enough burst damage because all the damage is coming from Cabo. So the moment he's forced out of tower range, I think that once he lost Skarl, he wanted the aggro to swap over to Gilius. It doesn't, which means he then has to run away. Gilius by himself can't kill Odo, and then the TP from Kobbe comes in, and they end up turning the fight.
Well, Vitality, despite having what could have been a pretty good early game type of composition or the ability to make plays, they've not had a chance. They made 1 attempt in the top lane for first blood, and the following 9 kills has been a proactive, controlled Splyce that are legitimately just running down Vitality. We're 11 minutes in. It's a 5,000 gold lead, 2 towers to 0. Every single person on Splyce is fed already.
Yep.
And it's just such a difficult situation for Vitality to be in. They need to stack the CC and, you know, find some picks to claw back this gold deficit.
Yes. Well, ooh, here we go. Niski getting engaged upon. Does miss the Sleepy Trouble bubble, and with other Vitality members hanging around, that could have been critical. Now, the thing about Vitality is you can already see, looking for a gank in mid, this team doesn't know how to do nothing. Even when they're behind, they still look for plays all the time. Very, very active on the map at all times, and that's kind of like a strength, but also their undoing. Because if the enemy team can match it when they are stronger, you just then funnel even more gold and even more kills into the already snowballing team. So Vitality now grouping up in mid. Let's see if they can stop this siege.
This is exactly what you talked about, Vedius. The proactive play from Vitality. Gilius is a little bit drowsy and sleepy. He's getting shut down by shots 1 and 2. The third catches Jack Troll. The fourth tags him on the way out. Equalizers burning the behind of that supportal Shen. Forced to flash to save his life. The tower is the focus for now. And Splyce will be content with a kill onto Gilius. The 10th of the game. And the third and outer tower. Splyce are in absolute dominant control.
And this is one of those situations where most teams would have just conceded the tower, looked to play defensive, but Vitality, no. They engage. They think they can catch Splyce out. They think they can catch them off guard. Niski lands a good Sleepy Trouble bubble, the immediate follow-up from Cobbett, and then the zoning Rumble ultimate to force the rest of Vitality away results in another tower going towards Splyce. Another Drake, oh sorry, the first Drake secured, and Splyce holding full control. And here we go, like 5 members of Vitality. They think they can engage. Jack Troll, he does have his ulti up, doesn't even bother to use it. Maybe it could have been used to keep Gilius alive, but yeah, Vitality right now looking a little lost as they're getting crushed by Splyce.
Man, it's just such a good performance. You know, Splyce.
That's what Splyce does, man.
They take a beating. They take a beating to begin the split, and I think DeFisher was kind of alluding to this on the analyst desk. Splyce is sort of 4-1 in their last 5 games, despite the style in which they picked up some of those wins. They're on an uptick. You know, I think Rift Rivals was good for the 3rd place squad from EU. They've come back. They're looking stronger with every game, and they're surprising the heck out of me. I can only imagine what it must feel like to be in Vitality's shoes right now, because they're in a 5,000 gold deficit at 14 minutes.
But also, let's look at Splyce at its entirety, right? Because draft is something that has plagued this team throughout the entire split. Had an opportunity to talk to Cobbett while we were at Rift Rivals, and he basically said, the champ pool is really difficult right now because there's a bunch of champs that we've never played before. We're seeing new matchups that we're just not experienced with. And these are very veteran players that are very used to a certain way of playing. They're smart about the game. They know how to like move around the map, use pressure on sideways. They have a good understanding of league mechanics, but matchups and stuff, when all of that suddenly has to change from your years of experience, that becomes very difficult to adapt. And now the meta, they found a draft and they're finding champions that is actually working for them and is enabling the strengths of this team.
For any of our sort of longer term viewers that have listened, we actually used a couple jokes that you can't teach old dogs new tricks. And that was one of the big problems with Splyce when this meta first came in, and that's exactly what you just talked about.
But you like, look at the draft now, right? Odo on a carry, Rumble, one of his signature champions from back in the day. Xerxes on his Trundle, he was the one that introduced this champion to the European LCS. Niski has always found success on Zoe. You saw he's 3-1 so far this split. And Cobbett gets his hands on an AD carry, and not only that, one of his most comfortable AD carries from his entire LCS career. So Splyce just seem to have drafted themselves a composition that not only fits their playstyle, but is enabling them to play this incredible early game. And at 15 minutes in, they have a 6,000 gold lead.
Yep, and you can see this game plus 5,300 at the 15-minute mark. The old record was 1695. Splyce not necessarily a team. This version, we've talked about their early game a lot. Now they're trying to pick a team fight. This is Vitality rather. They will get themselves their 2nd kill of the game. That's a shutdown onto Kasing. And that lands in the hands of Jazuke, which is extremely important for Vitality. But look at the number of ultimates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them just to kill a support. So there's this window of opportunity for Splyce to punish. And more importantly, I think, is it just signifies to me how much Vitality have to throw at Splyce, even just to get a pick.
So I think here, one of the crucial things to note is Odoamne is back in base. Splyce actually want to reset and spend the gold that they've just been able to pick up after securing all these farm and towers. And they go back to mid to help push it out so that they can then back. but Vitality see that as an opportunity to actually start a fight. So I like the pick that Vitality were able to find. It does also get the flash out from Kasing as well, but in the grand scheme of things, it won't result in anything because you just look across the vision and it is still primarily Splyce who have pressure on the side lanes, or in all 3 lanes really, and are able to keep maintain control of the river in the bot side.
I want to take a little bit of a closer look at Jizuke though, because we've not really spoken about the mid lane a lot, and Jizuke definitely not the same level of performance this summer, as you can see with the CSD being negative, lower damage per minute, significantly higher ISO deaths at the same point in the split as in spring.
Yes.
Now, admittedly, this was Vitality's breakout. I think they were 7-1, 7-2 at that point.
Yep.
So, very different circumstances, but it's been a slower Jizuke since playoffs.
Well, I mean, the key thing is that Jizuke hasn't had a jungler funnel everything into him this split. Last split, it was the Jizuke story. He had Ryze, he also had Zoe. There were 2 champions that he just excelled so much at, and his team basically set him up to be the big carry. And when he had that, he was great. But this split, he's been trying to build his own leads, he's been trying to find out plays, and he's failed. He's been outplayed multiple times. By Niski, he was solo killed. He's been solo killed by another mid laner too. I can't quite remember which one. I think it was Betsy. And that is not the level of performance you'd expect based on how he performed last split. But now Odo Omni is the focus once again. Let's see if Vitality can pull it off.
Now, remember last time, Kobe teleported to the bottom lane. This time round, it is Kasing. Kasing's TP wasn't even necessary. Odo Omni was able to turn it around. I take it back, that's a double TP. Their second and third shot will find their target, so does the fourth. Kasing actually gobbles out Odo Omni. Electro Harpoon #1 misses, #2 finds its target. A flash forward from Kobe. The dancing grenade finds its kill. Another gigantic hit into a deadly flourish. Abyssal Voyage comes out and Gilius manages to smite the Gromp to stay alive. He escapes with his life for now, but pseudo engage is enough engage for Splyce.
Yep, they find themselves another kill onto Cabo. The dive fails, and the proactivity is not working out as Jizuke is becoming the target, but good sidesteps allow him to walk away cleanly. The Baron is spawning in a minute. Quick shot, and Splyce, with the lead that they have, can happily set up around it, but just look at the vision as well. So many good wards have been set up towards the top side of the map that after Vitality tried to make this play bot and it failed, Splyce have been able to push up bot, they secure a tower mid, they have full vision control top, and it means that they can easily secure a Drake and then reset, and then easily walk towards the Baron and start setting up for that big objective.
6,000 gold up, 2 dragons to nothing. Vitality still don't have a single tower. Every single objective is in Splyce's favor. They've got the combat advantage, the map advantage, the vision advantage, and it is now just up to Splyce to finish this game out. They've got all the tools they need. They don't even need hard engage because they can just insta-give basically anybody, because you can see just how much damage Odo puts down.
He plays it extremely well.
Yeah.
He utilizes the Rumble ultimate to force Cabo to jump off of Skull. Jin doesn't really know where Cabo is. He's able to find that third shot to start slowing him down. And then, I love this flash in from Kobe. Cabo is trying to get back onto Skull, but he doesn't get the opportunity because of how well Splyce kite back. And then just, gotta go fast, Jin. I'm sure you've seen all those montages of just Jin speeding around the map, zoom, 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 while he zooms after Gilius. And unfortunately, he doesn't find the kill, but he gets a couple summoner spells out of the Vitality squad.
Yep, Swifties, the rapid fire cannon, as well as Storm Razors. Kobe is very powerful at 20 minutes on the clock. And Splyce are looking set to even out the standings. 4-5 versus Vitality's 5-4. As you can see on the side, by the way. Match of the week, Misfits taking on Fnatic coming up next. Before we get to that game, though, you see how effectively Splyce can play around Baron and look to close this out. I mean, you do not want to pick a fight leading up to the Baron pit if you're the red side team into this Fed Rumble, Trundle, Zoe, and Jin. It's it's so difficult to walk down the line skill shots and damage that they can put out. So how else do Vitality try to get back in this game?
I mean,
yeah. I mean, I have to ask the question, dude. It's literally part of the job.
So Jizuke will be one of the key factors. Let's just take a look at right now his gold, because he's 231 farm. He is sitting at about 8.3, so he's ahead of Niski, right? There you go. There's your bright side. We talked about how Jizuke hasn't really been a big carry for Vitality so far this split. Now is his opportunity to do so. He's sitting on about 1,100, 1,200 gold right now. He needs to go back and spend level 13. I believe he's on par with being the highest level in the game. And in teamfight, Irelia can be huge. You have so much outplay potential. So if Vitality can just find a good 5v5, then Gideus has the potential to be the carry.
Okay.
I'm not saying that there's a big, high chance of it, but if Vitality are going to win, I feel like he is the man that is capable of doing it.
I'm glad you point that out, just so that I know where I need to be looking as well.
All right.
When these team fights play out.
Oh, but look at Splyce. Look at Splyce.
Key factor I need to keep my eyes on. All right, Jack Troll is put to sleep, but is not sent to the graveyard. Splyce, look at the vision. 1, 2, 3 control wards on the minimap. 5, in fact, actually being set up around that top half on the minimap. 4 on the top, 1 on the bottom. Splyce are making it very clear they want the Baron. The Baron will unlock this game. Vitality now starting to move their way backwards. Equalizers available for Odo. It would overheat him, but there goes the Drowsy. There is so much damage. Vitality are melting. And Splyce cut through them like a hot knife through butter. 12th kill of the game. And Splyce can just easily take any objective they want.
So they had top pushing. I believe bot is even slow pushing in their favor. Mid control is theirs. They have full jungle control. Everything on the map belongs to Splyce. And with Attila dead, he does have teleport, so Splyce can't just turn around and rush the Baron. But Cabo's looking for a flank. Instead, there are 2 members of Splyce to meet him there.
Oh, did he flank himself? Let's find out. Drowsy ends up buying enough time, I think, with Jizuke managing to back up Cabo. It was enough threat to not follow on. The tower will be enough for now. And Splyce, they still maintain that 6,000 gold lead. They still maintain absolute vision superiority. And Splyce look to even out the standings with Vitality as and when they play this out. Now, for Splyce, they're very happy. Everything they're doing, it is smart, it is controlled, it's in the right pages. How many minutes do they need before we start getting worried?
You mean for Splyce?
Correct.
So
a long time?
Yeah. The thing is about that comp is it's very easy for them to just keep doing this. You just have to land a bit of poke onto a single target, and you can just throw down the Rumble ulti and immediately follow up with the Jhin to pretty much get anything that you want started off. You then have to make sure that you can follow up, because note how in that situation, again, going back to this hard crowd control discussion, they can't lock Vitality down, which means that Vitality have to either go for the re-engage, otherwise they can just then disengage and run away. But if you force them that low and put them in a situation where they can't then fight back, you can then force things like the Baron, and then you can look to siege and end the game. And right now I feel like they should just rush the Baron. They're so much stronger in this 5 versus 5. The only way in which they're going to throw it away is if they lose this objective.
Yeah.
And I feel like Splyce has enough experience as a team to not gamble the 50-50. Even then, Gideus doesn't have the greatest track record, so...
Oh, yeah, in the Baron pit?
In the Baron pit.
I mean, maybe the shoe's on the other foot. Maybe
Perhaps.
the magic changes.
I have been told it's harder to secure a Baron than it is to steal one.
Do you believe it? That's a context I want you to add.
I can understand that perspective, but I feel that if you have 5 members in a pit and you all work together and say, burst it now, in theory, that should actually be easy.
It should stack the odds in your favor, right?
Yes, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, that's
But I can understand, having been a jungler that has stolen Baron, that the pressure is significantly less. Now, engage from Vitality.
Charge is the call from Cabo Shot. He splits up Splyce, but it's simply not enough. Now that Odo One has arrived, the equalizer is down and burning Vitality. Making a look at some damage though, but a final fall. The shots for the curtain call, 2 and 3 go a little wide. But Vitality are running for their lives. They're rooted. Flash forward from Niski. He's looking for Jizuke and takes him out. Doesn't matter how much gold Jizuke has. He's simply not enough damage. Little bit of a close fight, but Splyce still win.
But again, it all comes down to the fact that Splyce don't have enough hard crowd control that they can lock these Vitality members down. Instead, they just force them low enough to base, and now Splyce can just move on to the Baron. So even if they don't get all these kills, they get what they want, which is the big purple worm. TP is now coming in for Vitality. Let's see if they can stop it.
All right, Baron's going a little bit lower. Splyce decide not to go for the 50-50. Jack Troll's here as well, completing the stand united. Skarl gets popped and Cabochard's running for his life. Despite the fact that there were no kills, Vitality crucially stopped Baron from being secured, and that just extends this game, extends the chances or the opportunities where Jizuke's Irelia, who's up around 70 CS, by the way, may be able to find that crucial pick.
So their goal here is to engage onto Corbin. Note that he does have his flash available, but Tahm Kench isn't in the area to keep him alive. Then Kasing shows up and is able to peel for his AD carry, and that's when Splyce can go for the turnaround fight. The Rumble ulti is decent, but all it does is get members low, and because the Jhin shots don't quite land onto their targets, Vitality don't get slowed enough to allow Splyce to secure any extra kills. Fortunately, Niski get 3 flashes in a row, so he can quickly chase down Jizuke and get at least 1 kill, but aside from that, Splyce don't really walk away with much, meaning that nothing ends up going in favor of either side, except for an Ocean Drake that Splyce have now secured.
So 3 dragons to 1. No, to 0, correction, sorry. To none would be better. Big item spikes picked up as well. Infinity Edge now just completed for Kabi. At 27 minutes, 3 items. And yes, there is a tank on the side of Vitality, but he's got MR and a little bit of HP. I mean, a Spectre's Cowl, Merc Treads, and Cinderhulk. He's not exactly the beefiest Sejuani against all of this DPS that Splyce can put down.
He also has no armor.
Well, there we go.
Really sucks against the 3-item Jhin. So we'll see how that lasts. Right now, Vitality have secured 1 tower to Splyce's 6. They're grouping up as 5 in mid, something we talked a little bit about early on. Here comes the Rumble ulti. Where's the Jhin ulti to follow?
All right, there it is. And already Vitality are just getting obliterated. Jizuke is already dead. Xerxes can look to chase, but the Deadly Flourish won't find any CC. Vitality just cannot stand toe-to-toe. They need to find an opportunity where they can surprise Splyce, maybe.
It's just simple math. Trevor, you have
What is that?
7,000 gold in your pockets, or 7,000 more gold, rather, which means that when you throw those money bags in the face of your opponent, it really hurts. Like, it really hurts. And so Vitality, they just need more money in their pockets if they want to stand a chance.
And that means they need a lot more time. That's what it boils down to.
more
Total
time.
damage dealt this game. You can see Pillar of Ice comes out from Xerxes. Not going to be enough to find the target. This is where that lack of engage on the Splyce side comes to show. No curtain call, no equalizer, therefore no real opportunity for a kill there. And it is just one of the options that Splyce chose. You know, they opted into this team comp, and it's worked phenomenally for them. They've got this lead, but they're going to lose another tower. That's because Kabe's pushing out top, while Odo's pushing down bottom. This is the short-term loss for the long-term win.
Yes, exactly that. So, because losing that mid tower means very nothing in terms of the overall goal difference, Splyce will now gain control over mid, and note how they will move towards the Baron after this, because Jizuke doesn't have teleport, he's carrying out the bot side of the map, and Splyce should be able to force a fight. Keep track of the ultimate cooldowns, because they're going to be pivotal around when Splyce choose to force this objective. Right now, it is completely dark for Vitality, and Splyce should kick off the Baron.
10 seconds for Kabe's curtain call. Kasing on the Abyssal Voyage will be a few seconds less. Sleepy Trouble Bubble locks down Gilius. Equalizer starts to burn him down. And of course that Pillar of Ice blocks the exit. So curtain call still available. So is the Abyssal Voyage, but with no smite. Maybe Splyce fancy their opportunity or their shot here at Baron.
But this is a perfect example of how to use Baron to start fights. You don't actually commit to the objective. You just get your enemies to draw near. You use your, like, area of effect crowd control, like the Trundle Pillar, the pick from Jin's W. You lock the target down, you kill him, and now with no jungle smite, Splyce secure an easy Baron.
And I think you can take it a step further even. This was flawless play on how to use the map to secure a Baron.
Yeah.
They pushed out the side lanes, they conceded a small objective, they lost the battle only to win the war. And you know, this is exactly the strength of Splyce and their players, these old dogs that we keep talking about.
Note how it's still like, so with some of the younger squads that we have in the EU LCS, when you get this kind of a gold lead, teams like Misfits, G2, Fnatic would have probably snowballed the game a little bit faster. Splyce is the kind of team that is a little more patient and a little more reserved. They don't take that many gambles, but so far they've still played the game very cleanly, and you can see that things have been done proper, as it were. And that means that very few mistakes have been made on the side of Splyce. No one's been caught out of position. There are only 2 kills on the side of Vitality, and while 2 towers have been secured from the side of Vitality, overall this has just been a very clean game from the side of Splyce.
Of course, one of the themes during week 5 of most splits is the fact that it's the turnover from first half to second half.
Yep.
Now I'll carry on to that story in a moment because there is an engage. Kasing is the target. He's going to be able to flash over the wall to safety. That buys enough time for the rest of Splyce to get up. And Vitality are just getting run down. They lined up beautifully for the damage. And the curtain call may be all that is needed. The fourth and final shot takes out Cabo Shard. Deadly Flourish comes in, but not enough time. Gilius the only man standing. And of course, the graphic that popped up there was just the differences in how these teams have played. In week 1 or 2, when this matchup first happened, Vitality crushed Splyce in much the same way Splyce are now crushing Vitality.
And right now, the biggest difference, Trevor, is that Vitality are dead, Splyce are not, and they have the Nexus in their eyes.
For the 19th time in 30 minutes, Splyce managed to take down Vitality to even out the head-to-head 1-1.
Great game from Splyce, very enjoyable to watch. A lot of action, given that Vitality just kept trying to answer back with fights, but they just fell behind so hard in the early game. Dying 2v2 down in the bot lane, the fact that Splyce found 3 kills in the top after what looked like a clean dive from Vitality. This was a very different Splyce that we have seen that typically goes up against Vitality, but for Splyce fans, it's definitely going to be an exciting Splyce to watch.
I think you can expand that even further. Not even just Splyce against Vitality, just Splyce.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to rack my brain into when they've been that good in the early game, when they've been that proactive, and I'm not coming up with much right now. But exceptional performance from Splyce. They tie at 5th place with Vitality. 5 wins, 5 losses. As we start to round out the week, and only a couple of games left, but for Vitality, the tumultuous summer split continues.
Yes, it was. I'm curious as to the records because I'm not actually sure where this puts Splyce right now. I think they are at 4 and 5. Do they have 5?
5 and 5, tied for 5th position.
Right, but now Vitality are losing that. I believe are at 5 and 5.
5 and 5.
So this is
you weren't listening to me, fam. That was my line as they were walking over to shake hands.
See, I was trying to think about it. I was literally in my
you're
head.
all good. But look, it all started from this, right? Because this was the first blood play that just turned around.
Yes. So again, dive very clean. Cabo starts tanking the turret. He then jumps off of Skull. Very few members are very low. But then you have Xerxes come in on this Trundle, really strong early skirmisher. Combine that with the sleep on Zoe, they focus down the Sejuani first, and it makes it very easy to win out in a 2 versus 1 against Jizuke, while Kasing just solos down Cabo. And in these early levels, you kind of see the strength of the Tahm Kench. Odo Omni doesn't end up getting any kills, but that's fine. And this is where things really start to snowball.
I mean, this 2v2 was the exact opposite of what we were expecting coming into the matchup. Of course, these replays brought to you by Acer Predator. And Kasing with a tongue lash just to finish it out. I mean, it's great, confident play. It's proactive play. It's something that you want to see from a team that has been struggling, a la Splyce.
Yes.
And it is concerning for a team that has also been struggling, that historically has done well against Splyce in Vitality. So this doesn't give me more answers, it just gives me more questions, Vedius.
Well, we'll have to see if Splyce can keep this consistency up and if Vitality can kind of change their play style, because right now all we've seen from them is win lane, win game.
Well, if you don't win the lane, you can't win the game, and that's why Vitality didn't. We have 3 players completing for player of the game. Niski, Kobi, and Odowamne. Head over to @LOL Esports on Twitter. Vote on the poll. Only you can pick the player of the game. Not him, and I don't want your vote. After the break, Niski and Kobi join Drakus and Ender for picks and bans before our match of the week between Misfits and Fnatic. But first, let's see what Odowamne says after taking down Vitality.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Odowamne, and that was a stomp of a game. I'm not going to mince words here. Were you surprised it went down that way?
Kind of, you know, because we kind of got murdered first time we played them this split, so I expected them to be a bit better, considering how hard we sucked yesterday. But yeah, I mean, this was one of our better games. You saw yesterday one of our worst games, so it just kind of goes to show that we're still kind of a coin flip team.
Well, you do have the 5 and 5 record that would necessitate that. But you're also 5 and 1 the last 3 weeks. So man, it seems like Splyce is really improving. So like, I guess what are the problems you're still seeing in the team?
I mean, in the mid game we still have issues. I think this game we could have closed it 10 minutes earlier, based on how hard we won the early game. We're still kind of slow and iffy on setting up the map and kind of just snowballing the lead, and I was kind of left in the darkness for a while, where I was just ulting some waves as they were crashing in my tower. But I think other than that, it's just the schedule that we had it pretty rough in the first 2 weeks that made us kind of go 0-4 and suck really hard because we faced the top 4 teams. And I think going forward now with the other half of the split, we still have some issues to fix. But now that we play the better teams again, it's kind of our time to not go 0-4 against them again.
We'll see if that happens. Now, what it does seem another piece of the puzzle is that you guys are playing a little bit more comfortable champions. You got to play the Rumble once again. How's it feel to not be on Dog Champs?
Oh man, I mean, it feels pretty good because imagine I'm on these Dog Champs and I get camped as I did this game, and I would just run around the map and be really useless and not be able to farm. At least with Rumble, I can catch a wave every 2 minutes with my ult, so it feels good.
Well, all right. I suppose it's always good for you to play a carry. Thanks for joining me, Odoamne, and congrats on your win.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Match of the week, Fnatic Misfits, is coming right up. We'll see you soon.
It's Xerxes that picks it up. Now they turn their attention to Zuzuke. He survives a few seconds longer while Cabochon is battling with Kasing. Manages to sidestep that paddle star before the tower takes him out. Helps out Kobbe. Kobbe gets the kill with the help of that BF sword as well. The curtain is called. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is denied. The top tower, while Odoamne with no equalizers being dove. He's overheating and taking a lot of damage. Cabo forced to get away, but Odoamne turns it back around. Kobbe completes the teleport and arrives. There goes the Drowsy. There is so much damage. Vitality are melting. 10th time in 30 minutes. Splyce managed to take down Vitality